Welcome to Briefly Orbiting, a podcast about what happens when normal people come in contact with the world's biggest celebrities. I'm your host, Matt Courtois. If you don't want kids, you should not have kids. No one tells you this, but it's true. A lot of people will try to convince you that it's the best thing that will ever happen to you, and how rewarding it is to watch them grow and develop their own personalities. All of that is true, but they're selectively leaving out the hard stuff. The heartbreaking stuff. The days when they come home sick and they just lay across your chest all day, eyes glazed and pitiful, and you're just hoping the fever will break. Or when they come home in tears because their friend was mean to them and never wants to speak to them again. Or when they come home busted and bloody from an accident, and you see fear and self-doubt start to creep into their brain where joy and wonder used to live. They also don't mention the truly unimaginable stuff, where they don't come home at all. I've seen that happen to people I know, and I don't know how they get out of bed in the morning. But somehow they go on, but they're never the same. So if you don't want kids, don't have kids. Kids will enhance, but kids won't fix. If you think a kid will fix the problems you have, you should probably just go ahead and create 2 budget line items for extensive therapy. Or just get a puppy or fish or something. Because if they're not telling you about the hard stuff that can happen, they're definitely glazing over the mundane stuff. Like the amount of snacks they eat. Or when you find a snack that they like, and then you buy it in bulk, and then they decide, oh yeah, by the way, I hate that snack now. They also don't talk about the water bottle situation. Diapers and baby bottles get all the press, but those are short-term problems. Once they hit 3 years old, the need for water bottles is relentless. You don't leave the house without one, ever. This was all new to me. We didn't have water bottles when I was in school. I'm not actually sure that we even had water. I used to drink Mountain Dew for breakfast, so we certainly didn't have $50 water bottles that must be clean and dried and refilled multiple times a day. My kids have said some hurtful things to me over the years. Once when my daughter was 4, I told her that she couldn't have dessert, and she put her finger in my face, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "You are nothing. You are nobody." That sort of thing rolls right off my back because I know they love me, and they know that I love them. But it's the water bottles that beat me down. How do I cope with that humdrum water bottle lifestyle? The way that most dads do, with puns and bits. Right or wrong, dad jokes are my pressure valve release from the mundane, just like my dad before me. When it came to his bits, my dad exclusively played the hits. If we were at a restaurant and the waiter would say, "Hello, my name is Hannah and I'll be your server," my dad would always respond, "I'm Randall, glad to meet you." Or if my brother or I would walk into the kitchen and loudly exclaim, "I'm hungry," my dad would always hit us with the, "Hey hungry, I'm Randall, glad to meet you." Now that I think about it, most of my dad's bits were centered around food and introducing himself. But if you knew my dad, this totally tracks. My dad bits, they have a little bit of nuance to them. One I picked up after watching Disney's animated movie Tangled 1,000 times. When the king is doing an exposition dump at the beginning of the movie to explain why his daughter Rapunzel was kidnapped by the evil Mother Gothel, he mentions that every year on her birthday, the kingdom lights 1,000 paper lanterns and releases them to guide the lost princess home. So, if one of my kids ever says, "Every year, I always interject on her birthday," with an elite, surgically skilled precision, it drives them crazy. Some bits become obsolete because of changing technology. When I was in radio, we all still had landlines on our desk, and for whatever reason, the entire staff would always answer incoming calls with their speakerphone instead of their handset. So I would call random coworkers, and when they answered, I would belt out a cheesy ballad at the top of my lungs. I'm talking Total Eclipse of the Heart or Celine Sits All Coming Back to Me Now, full volume, voice cracks for the entire world to hear. Cell phones and headsets killed this bit forever, RIP. Another one I had to sunset was my Song of the Day emails. I used to send out an email every day with an MP3 of a song that I was digging that day. Sometimes it was a new song, sometimes it was a forgotten jam. When I got wind that it was someone's birthday, I would add it to my calendar and send out a personalized email with a song that reminded me of the birthday boy or girl. Streaming audio and Facebook birthday reminders killed this bit forever. RIP. You don't have to be a dad to have dad jokes. He's a dad now, but long before he had a son, David Letterman would go up to bands after they performed and ask the same question. Are those your drums? You didn't rent them? You can find a supercut of YouTube on him asking everyone from the Black Keys to TV on the radio if they rented their drums.
Very nice. Thank you. Are those yours or rented? Beautiful drums. Are these your drums or rentals? Very nice. Are those your drums or those rentals? Oh, they're beautiful. Leno's?
If he really likes the set, things escalate.
Hey, you want to sell me those drums? How much you want for those drums? Is that yours? Is it for sale? Can I buy that? Is this for sale?
Apparently that purchasing part wasn't a bit. I found a clip of the band Kaiser Chiefs talking about how they had to hang out at the Ed Sullivan Theater for hours one day waiting for Letterman to get enough cash to buy their vintage drum kit. Like Letterman's drum bit, dad bits can span for decades. I was at a school event last week, and this one dad told me that his thing is that anytime someone asks him where he wants to go for lunch or dinner, he always says the Caribbean-themed chain restaurant, Bahama Breeze. He said that he had a friend in college that bartended there and who would slide him free drinks, so ever since college, Bahama Breeze has been his go-to suggestion. I asked him if he always ordered the same thing or if he mixed it up, and he said, "And to be honest, I don't even really like to go there, but I've been doing it for 15 years, so why stop now?" He just does it for the bit. Man, I wanted to stand up and salute. I thought a lot about his 15-year bit that night, and it occurred to me that I've had a bit that has lasted almost that long too. Picture it. Atlanta, March 2012. I'm sitting at my desk and I'm doing the math, and things are just not adding up. I love my job as a publicist, but my wife and I are expecting our son in 2 months, and my modest salary is not going to cut it. We both work, so I know that the daycare expenses are coming, and I don't think our bank account can sustain that kind of blow. So I'm doing everything I can to stack some cash before he arrives. One way to make some extra cash is to sign up to monitor screenings. Our agency is constantly screening our clients' movies before the release dates to build word of mouth. And there's usually a modest screening rep fee in it if you run the screening and submit a report to the studio after the movie's over. Get paid and watch movies? Sign me up. Plus, I know my screening days are numbered, so I've been stacking up screening fees since the second trimester. And that's when my phone rings. "Hey Matt, can you cover a couple of screenings this weekend?" Without details or hesitation, I said yes. Weekend screenings usually pay more. "Great. I'm going to put you on an email with the studio and the filmmakers. They are very involved in this one." Turns out the screening was a little different. Instead of an advanced screening to build word of mouth before opening, I would be covering a few shows of a film that had opened in limited release, including a run at Atlanta's AMC Phipps Plaza. The movie was called Friends with Kids, a comedy romance about best friends who decide to have a child together while keeping their relationship platonic, so they can avoid the toll kids can take on romantic relationships. The film was written, produced, and directed by Jennifer Westfeldt, who also stars in the film alongside Megan Fox, Maya Rudolph, Kristen Wiig, Ed Burns, Chris O'Dowd, and more. It's a fun movie with a terrific ensemble, so the studio was hoping to drum up business with a couple of Q&A screenings with the film's co-lead, Adam Scott. Now, this is pre-Severance and Big Little Lies, so Scott is more of an indie darling, an internet boyfriend, if you will, based on his work in Parks and Recreation, Step Brothers, and Party Down. Scott is in Atlanta shooting ACOD, about adult children of divorce, with Richard Jenkins, Catherine O'Hara, and Amy Poehler. Long before Marvel would set up shop in the ATL for a decade, ACOD was one of the first productions to take advantage of Georgia's burgeoning production tax credits, and Scott has made himself available to show up at the Phipps for intros and Q&As at Friends with Kids screenings based around his production schedule. Now, to outsiders, film production probably seems fun and glamorous. In reality, it's extremely tedious, and it's almost always in a state of controlled chaos. Filming a few minutes of screen time involves hours of retakes, changing angles, and complex logistical coordination that often results in 12 to 14-hour days. In an effort to keep everyone on the same page, the studio created an email thread to keep us all up to date with the screenings that night. On the email thread, there was me, the studio, the Atlanta publicist, the film's writer-director star Jennifer Westfeld, and a couple of the film's producers, including Westfeld's longtime partner, Jon Hamm. Jon Hamm is the best. Obviously, Mad Men and his performance as Don Draper is a Mount Rushmore TV show of the modern age. And yes, he's become a meme sensation, whether dancing in the club on Apple TV's Friends and Neighbors, or vibing out to Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico or at the Super Bowl. He's also an all-time great SNL host. Check out his Lonely Island short, The Curse, where he's a shirtless saxophone playing Sergio, or his Trick or Treat sketch with Will Forte. But also, don't sleep on his role as Fletch in the criminally underseen but utterly delightful 2022 comedy Confess Fletch. Drama, comedy, memes, is there anything that Hamm can't do? Before we get into the story, I've got two other write-in candidates for the Hamm Hall of Fame that are deeply personal to me. Okay, for the first one, do a Google image search for Jon Hamm cooking eggs. Before you type it though, make sure you have a cool drink nearby and somewhere to lie down. The second, and my personal Hamm highlight, comes from the 2022 smash, Top Gun Maverick. Hamm plays Vice Admiral Bo Cyclone Simpson, the commander who's overseeing the training mission, whose strict adherence to the rules butt heads with Tom Cruise's Maverick renegade approach. Look, they don't call him Maverick for nothing. Check out this line reading from Hamm after Maverick doesn't follow his protocol yet again.
And that Cobra maneuver of yours, that could have got all three of you killed. I never want to see that shit again.
That's just elite stuff from Hamm. The best. All right, so here I am on this email thread, and it's mostly innocuous, back and forth about schedule changes, kind of trying to coordinate cars and who the on-site contact is going to be. After some mild back and forth, the exchange goes mostly silent, until someone in the chain responds, "Happy birthday, Jon." Pretty soon, everyone on the email is replying all, wishing Hamm the best, and Jon is replying back with his thanks. So I do the polite thing and respond too, "Happy birthday, Jon." And that's when the entire email thread goes silent. But that's where the bit begins. But this is a pre-Spotify and pre-Facebook birthday world. I quickly add his birthday to my calendar. And every year, on her birthday, I send him a quick note to let him know that I hope he has a great day. And just like in 2012, every year, it's met with crickets. Until March 2021. 9 years into the bit. 9 years of emailing into the void without signs of life. On March 10th, 2021, an email dropped into my inbox. "Thanks, man. Hamm." Hamm, by the way, is in all caps. The freaking coolest. Then again in 22. And 2023. And 2024. At this point, we're pretty much best friends. But then in 2025, the line goes cold again. As of this recording, there's been no response in 2026 either. Maybe he was just more responsive during the Biden years. Maybe he's just too busy or has other things to worry about. Maybe we all do. But his birthday is still on my calendar. And when next March rolls around, I'll probably email him again. Once you commit to the bit, you have to keep it up. Even if he never responds again, the bit still brings me joy and a teensy bit of escape. Mostly from the water bottles. Briefly Orbiting is written, produced, edited, and hosted by me, Matt Courtois. Briefly Orbiting is recorded in beautiful Marietta, Georgia, the small town with the biggest heart. Follow Briefly Orbiting on Instagram, YouTube, Substack, and Letterboxd at Briefly Orbiting. Do you have a good celebrity story that you think might make a good episode? Email me at brieflyorbiting@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, the world is a better place when you just let people be who they want to be.